I'm excited for this video, and here's why. In the 12 years that I have flipped my classroom and trained thousands of other teachers to do the same effectively, right? And we're gonna talk a little bit about that today too. The same kinds of questions have come up, or at least the same theme of questions around flipping and the flipped learning model. So we're gonna answer them in this video right now. I've got 8 questions for you and 8 answers, so let's get to it. Well, hey there, teacher friend. Welcome to my channel. I am Mandy Rice of teachonamission.com and the Sustainable Teacher Podcast, bringing you weekly teacher content to help you be inspired and hopefully reinvigorate your love of teaching, but in ways that allow you to be a great teacher, an effective teacher with your students, right? And have a personal life, because you can have both, B-O-T-H, both. And that's really what I'm here for. So come on over onto the Teachergram, find me on Instagram where I am on stories and just want to get to know you a little bit better. So go ahead and click subscribe so you don't miss a single video coming out, and let's get to this video. All right, I want to get right into answering these 8 questions, but I first want to say that if your very first question is, well, what exactly is the flipped classroom? I want you to go back and watch a video that I just recently did on Is the Flipped Classroom Dead? Yes, no, and next steps. What a complicated title I came up with there. But in that video, I kind of give you a synopsis of what is the flipped classroom. So go ahead and watch that if you have no clue what the flipped classroom is yet. But if you do know what the flipped classroom is and you're wondering and have some questions and want to get some answers before really diving in and trying this out, then this video is for you. Okay, question number 1. Do I have to assign the videos that I create as homework? Do my students have to do those at home? And I want you to hear me on this answer. No! How about that, right? No, absolutely not. And this really, the answer here is similar, or is really the exact reason why I created that last video on Is the Flipped Classroom Dead? Is because the technique kind of boxes you in. If you say I'm gonna flip my classroom, and when we title a trend like that or a technique with a term like that, we put it into a little box and it has to look just like that. No, I'm all done with that. I'm like shattering that box, right? Let's think outside of it. No, your flipped classroom or using what is the flipped learning model does not have to look like anyone else's. It's about using the model to your advantage, to the advantage of your unique students. So no, you do not have to assign it for homework. You can do an in-class flip, you can do a pseudo flip, you can do all kinds of things. And I've recently talked about that on the Sustainable Teacher Podcast. So hop on over and let's chat a little, dive a little deeper into that question. Question number 2, how do I hold my students accountable for even doing the work, especially if it's homework? But even if it's not, and I flip in class or do an in-class flip, how do I hold my students accountable? Well, there's a little prerequisite here, right? The prerequisite to like before this question is that, yeah, you have to hold your students accountable, right? That's like the prerequisite step. Because here's the thing, in most traditional classrooms, at least in what was my traditional classroom and many that I've seen, when you are delivering the content or quote lecturing, you never look at your students' notes. Maybe you do, I don't know, but a lot of teachers don't. You've got to get that. It's helpful. It's on the test, right? Well, in the flipped classroom, you are kind of giving up a little bit of control. Just enough, right? I'm a control freak and I flip my classroom, so you can do it too. But in the flipped classroom, you absolutely want to hold your students accountable. Now, how you do that is completely unique to you. I have a system that worked for me. It was my binder system, and it is the one that I train all of our teachers inside of our memberships and who have taken flipped classroom formula. But know that yes, you absolutely need to do that. But what you don't want to do, so here's me getting to the real answer to this question, and that is this. Do not collect them and do not, quote, grade them in the traditional sense. So let me give you a really quick synopsis of what I did inside of my, quote, binder system, which I'm gonna be creating a video about that eventually. I don't know when, but stay tuned, it's gonna come out. So I would walk around the room. So my students in one of my classes, I flipped 2.5-ish. It's really complicated. But in one of my classes where they did it outside of class and came to class with their completed notes, I went around the room and spent no more than a minute at each table of about 4 to 5 students. So 20-ish seconds per student looking at their notes, and then I would stamp it. In that amount of time, I also told my students ahead of time, here's what is acceptable on your notes and here's what's not, that I'm able to see in a 10 to 20 second time span. But I also let them know, hey, I have free reign to ask you any questions I want. So I may see that this topic is in the notes and I ask you about it and you go and turn to it and it's blank. Ooh, that's not very good. But it also might be filled in. And that student would be like, I wrote it down and I remember it being talked about in the video, but I don't really know it. You know what? That right there is formative data for me. So not only was this system a way for me to hold my students accountable for doing the notes, in me holding them accountable for it in that process that I use, I was collecting formative data constantly and was able to say with no shadow of a doubt, this is where my students have struggled. Whether or not that's on paper or not, it was in here. And that's what mattered for the next 45 minutes inside of my classroom, because I was able to immediately remediate that information. Priceless. Question number 3, how or really does this work with my English language learners or my students whose native language is not mine? Big, huge, resounding answer is yes, it does. And let me talk to you about how or why. Your students whose native language is not the one in which you or your school predominantly teaches in is going to benefit so much from this model. Here's why. There's actually kind of like 3 reasons why. The first one is they are able to pause you so you can slow the H down, right? But also, secondly, in pausing you, they are able to go and like Google a word really quick. Like, I don't know what this word is. And likewise, along with that, you're able to have closed captioning depending on where you put your videos. But if you do like I did and put them on YouTube, you can have closed captioning put on there. Lastly, there are also platforms out there, websites, apps, whatever, where you can plop your videos in and it will translate it for you. That right there is priceless for your English language learners. Absolutely. So yes. Question number 4, and this is a big one. This is a hurdle for a lot of teachers, is how much work is this going to entail, right? Because it kind of sounds like a lot. All right, let me be totally honest with you here. Any work that you do that is best practice, that is really effective for your students, and that is going to last a long time and have a meaningful impact is work. So is a flipped classroom work? Absolutely. Is it a little bit of work? I don't know about that. It's kind of like a medium amount of work. And it definitely is some work, a medium bit of work, like I said, on the front end. That is going to pay off tenfold. So in the realm of education, where no one gets into it to be rich and famous, right? When we talk about a return on investment, ROI in the corporate world, it's about money. Well, welcome to the education space. It's almost never about money unless it's some case of sacrifice and deprivation. It's just the way it goes, right? Well, ROI or return on investment in the education space is all about time. It's all about time. I can assure you without a shadow of a doubt that you taking the time and effort to putting your personality and the way you teach and deliver content into a more accessible format that is in video and using that however your heart desires in effective ways for your students is going to give you more return on your time investment than almost any other teaching practice. I'm putting a stake in the ground. I'm putting my foot down. That is what I believe, and I am standing by it. If you don't believe me, stick around and come find out, and I will show you. Question number 5 and really 6 are very similar and have similar answers. Number 5, will this work in my grade level? And most of the time when someone's asking that, they teach elementary. So here's the thing. I, for 10 years, taught and am certified in 7 to 12 integrative social studies. I taught 9th through 12th graders. So that is the experience that I most oftentimes speak from. However, I have helped hundreds of teachers in the elementary level, thousands of teachers from pre-K to post-secondary level to flip their classrooms and use this technique in a way that works for uniquely them. right? So will it work in lower grades? Yes, it absolutely will. I've seen it in action. It's amazing. I also have a 4, 7, and 9-year-old, and I have actually looked up videos to help me and to help my child with specific things, namely when they're absent and we need to dive a little bit deeper into something. So yes, these, especially at the lower levels, those videos can not only help your students, they can help your families. So huge. Which then relates to question number 6. Will this work in my specific subject area? It's the same answer. Abso-freaking-lutely. So I taught integrated social studies, AP psychology, intro to psych, American history, honors American history, sociology, all the things. But I have trained thousands of teachers in all of the subject areas, even physical education, even at the post-secondary level in like an economics or a marketing class, right? It absolutely can work in all subject areas. And here's the evidence that I have, other than me helping lots of teachers do it and all the things. Here's the evidence. Have you ever gone to a platform like, let's say, YouTube to learn something? Yep, you're kind of here doing it right now, right? So think of all of the different subject areas and the different topics that are on YouTube, like how to shade in your eyebrows, or how to tie your shoes a different way, or how to make that really cool crock pot recipe, or how to do a new kind of jump shot layup, something athletic, right? There's so many things. So yes, can your subject area benefit from your content, your subject being in a video format that's more accessible to your students? Abso-freaking-lutely. Question number 7, and this one is a doozy. How do I organize all of the things? Right? A flipped classroom is a little bit more fluid than a quote traditional classroom, in that there's some moving parts that you can use in lots of different ways. And I'm gonna venture to say that if you were a teacher during the pandemic of 2020, and distance learning and all your students were remote and you had to figure out what in the actual H to do about all of that, you probably have a ton of videos just off in the internet space somewhere in a folder, and it's just listed all down, right? They're not really organized in any way, and you know they exist and you want to use them, but man, taking the time to find them and use them in ways that are effective for your students, that's a lot. So yes, organization is huge. And inside of my course, Flip Classroom Formula, we take an entire module in the 6-module course to talk about what I call the flipping foundations. Flipping foundations. And we talk about how to organize the shiz out of all of your things to make sure that when you go to find something, that it's there for your future self, right? We talk about how our past selves can help our future selves so that we're not just doing the same daggone thing over and over and over again and spending hours in the endless abyss of searching resources. So my first tip here in answering this question is to get on the wait list for Flip Classroom Formula. I don't, promote it and I don't push it out very often, but when I do, you'll know about it. So go to teachonamission.com/flip. It'll also be down linked in the description. But my actual answer to this, other than, wait until I talk about it later, that's not helpful, is this. Paper planners, right? Now, hear me out here as I look in my crazy desk. Like a paper planner, I'm all about it. This is my daily planner, which I'm going to talk about in future videos, but like a teacher planner is really hard with a flipped classroom. It's not that it's hard, like you could absolutely do it. And if you love it, keep doing it. But if that's your predominant way of planning out all of your flipping things that exist digitally, it's not going to bode well for you in the future. You're just gonna have to do this kind of stuff over and over and over again every single year. And that's not what I want for you. So my big answer here is to plan each of your flipped lessons, map it out digitally, and link the heck out of everything. So in this lesson that you have your video, you're gonna get your video, whether it's a YouTube one or an MP4 file on Google Drive, and you're gonna hyperlink that bad boy on a Google Doc that is titled This Lesson Plan. And you're gonna do that with the activities, with the student notes, and all of it. Link, 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 link. Don't just rely on folders, link them. Okay, the last question, and it is kind of a bigger one too, is the flipped classroom a good fit for me? I don't know. Like, I hear all of these things that you're saying, Mandy, and yeah, that makes total sense. And in an idyllic world, absolutely, that sounds great. But I don't know if it's gonna work for my grade level, my subject area. But what about my unique students? I love that you're asking this question because it means that you are being a fantastic educator. You have your current students and what are your recently past and then in the recent future students in your mind. And that's what makes you a great educator, right? Here's the thing. It's not always a yes. I mean, I want it to be. I want to say, yes, you get a car, you get a car, you get a flipped classroom. I want to be Oprah of flipped classrooms, right? But I can't say that there's a silver bullet in education. I can't say it's going to be beautiful for everyone because that's not a thing in the human world, right? So what I want to do is point you to a resource, and I've talked about it just a few minutes ago. It is my Flipped Classroom Starter Kit. Go to the link in the description, teachonamission.com/starter kit. And in there, I've essentially created this printable for you to make sure that your return on investment is gonna be there from day one in flipping your classroom. But also there's a little quiz. It's called the Good Fit Quiz inside of that starter kit for you to see some questions that will guide you to, is this really gonna be great for me? And no, the answer is not always yes. Right? It could be. I mean, that would be great for me, but it's not always yes. It may be a no, but it's not always yes, okay? So go grab that resource, take that Good Fit quiz, and see if the flipped classroom can work in your unique situation. Once you do that, I will also then be emailing you. I'm not gonna bombard you with all of the craziness because I hate that too, and you wouldn't believe all of the email newsletters and stuff I've unsubscribed from recently, and it's so freeing and wonderful. But what I will do is send you some things that I already have, some past podcast episodes that you might find helpful, and I'll also talk about some tools, my top 5 recommended tools for the flipped classroom. All right, I forgot something in the title of this video, all of your flipped classroom questions answered and why it doesn't suck. Here's the thing, I hope that these answers have kind of shown you it really doesn't suck. But let me just kind of summarize why I truly believe the flipped classroom is here to stay, at least the flipped learning model is, and no, it doesn't suck, no matter how much work you're putting into it, that you're going to get that return on investment. Here's why I believe that. The flipped learning technique, that strategy, is the best way. I'm saying it, I'm putting a stake in the ground, it's what I believe, and I'm sticking to it. It is the best way for teachers of today's post-pandemic modern student to be effective in the classroom without sacrificing their evenings, weekends, and personal lives to do so. And that is it. You can have both. And the flipped learning model allows you to do that, right? It allows you to be effective with today's post-pandemic modern student in ways that are sustainable for you. So if you are here for that, get in the comments and let me know. Let me know what any of your flipped classroom questions might be. I only got to 8 today. There are bajillions, right? And I hope that that starter kit will help you to answer even more that you may have. But if you still have some remaining questions, get down in the comments and say, hey girl, I still have this question, and I will absolutely be there to answer them for you. Click to get subscribed to follow this channel and so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.